Action.
Good evening. It's getting a little late in the evening and we're getting hungry. So tonight I'm going to make some chicken soup with homemade dumplings and French bread. Hope you hang in with us. First thing is that we want to do is we want to melt cut your vegetables. I got celery, carrots, and onions. I like to shred my carrots. I think they saute up a little bit better. They cook a little bit better in the soup. We want to melt some butter. I'm just going to go ahead and put my celery, carrots, and onions in here. I use this almost for every soup that I make. It has a great fragrance and it makes a wonderful soup. So we're going to saute this. I got our melted butter. Got to heat it up. I'm just giving a little stir to coat the butter on there. But once it starts sizzling, you actually want to give that a couple minutes before stirring each time to get it sauteing. So I'm going to catch back with you in a couple minutes when this is all done. Hope you hang in there. So it's been 2 or 3 minutes now. And as you can see, the onions are getting translucent. Everything's nice and steamy in here. Getting cooked down. We had a great fragrance. Wish you could smell it through the phone. Anyway, so now it's time to add our broth. I've done a lot of bone broth and chicken stock canned. Today, cheapen it a little bit. I just made a really thick bouillon chicken broth. Just because I'm going to add that in there. And then I'm just going to add water to it until I get it to the level that I'd like it at for the dumplings. We filter our own water here. So we reuse these all the time. So that looks to be about right. I'm going to add our chicken in now. You can use any kind of, you could use turkey, you could use chicken. Sometimes I like to use grouse. Whatever we have kind of around the house, but today is chicken. So we got that in there. I'm just going to add a few seasonings. I love parsley. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know I do love my parsley. It's pretty, gives it a good flavor, and it makes the soup a soup, to me anyway. Add just a shake or two of garlic. A little shake or two of onion powder. A little shake or two of just paprika. We're going to give this a stir. Now for making dumplings, we got to get this to a good simmer before we can do that. But there's different ways. You can get this to a good simmer or boil and add noodles to it and just make chicken noodle soup. You could also do the chicken noodle soup, and I know that I did a gravy video a couple videos ago. Add a cup or two of that gravy to this. It does make a nice creamy chicken noodle soup. Today we're just going to do dumplings. So I have to get this to a boil. While this is getting ready to boil, I'm going to set up to show you guys how to do dumplings. So hang in there. So back again, we got our chicken stock and our vegetables and our chicken going in here with our seasonings. This has got to get to a good simmer or boil for our dumplings. In the meantime, we're going to prep our dumplings. So we got 2 cups flour, a half teaspoon salt, 4 teaspoons baking powder in here with our dried parsley. We're just going to give that a little stir. And feel free to add more parsley. I'm a parsley lover. As you can see, to me, that's not enough. We're going to add just a little bit more in there. That's my actual recipe that I use that he's zooming in on right now. Okay, so we got this going here. We got all the dry ingredients mixed up. I know it does say on here to add the parsley after you've mixed everything, but I've learned it's way easier to do it when you have your dry ingredients. The next thing is going to be, you have to have 1 egg in 1 cup. We're just going to give it a little whisk to break it up. We have it in a 1 cup measuring cup. We're just going to whisk that a little bit. Break up that yolk. And then you're going to fill the rest of that cup with milk. That's going to be your liquid for this. We're going to add that to the rest of the dumpling mix and mix it up. Now, once this is all mixed up, it's going to have to rest for 5 minutes. And a lot of the time, you cannot, for me, you cannot do it by spoon. I've tried 100 times. I just like to get that liquid in there enough. And I'll pull it down off of that wooden spoon. I prefer to use wooden spoons. You can use any spoon you want. And I give it a little kneading. You really want to make sure you get that flour mixed in there and everything mixed in there. And it's because of the baking soda, you're going to want to let this rest for 5 minutes before you put it into soup. So it is a good idea. Get your soup going. Mix your dumplings up. It should be nice and thick like this. And we're going to let this rest for 5 minutes. Hopefully by then, if I plan this out right, our soup's going to be nice and simmering and boiling. And I can show you how to plop these little dumplings in there. And give you a couple tips on why sometimes some people find out it just doesn't work. Well, over the years, I've figured out why. Stay tuned. So we got about 2-3 minutes left before the dumplings are going to be ready to add into this. I just given this a stir, checking on it. We do have a good simmer going. Smells amazing. We got our chicken in there. We got our carrot, celery, and onion in there. As soon as we get the dumplings in, we already got our oven heated up to 400 degrees. And that's what we're going to do our French bread in. This will be a great night for a meal. So it's been about 5 minutes. We got a good simmer going here, actually a good boil. I just turned it down to a simmer. I'm going to remove the lid. Give it one last stir here. See how nice and rich and... I wish you could just smell it. That's all I can say. Anyway, so we're going to get these dumplings in. A couple things that I have heard is that my dumplings never turn out. My dumplings dissolve. You got to look at the radius of your pan. Like I can tell you right now, this dough will be too much for this pan. You can only have one dumpling on the top at a time on the top. Not just one dumpling, but you can't have multiple dumplings hiding behind other dumplings. They won't work. Anyway, so we're going to start, and you'll kind of see what I mean. We're going to give them about that big, 2 teaspoons, or I guess whatever spoons you want to use, about that big. This is probably a little over a tablespoon if you're going to measure that way. And we just dump it in. Since this dough is sat, this is going to make very good dumplings. It's nice and sturdy, not too soft. You can already see them rising to the top and puffing up. This does take about 20 minutes though to make them nice and done and all the way through the middle, and not to be doughy and to be that nice fluffy bread texture that everybody likes with dumplings. But like I was saying earlier, maybe it'll make, I'm kind of a dork. I'm learning. I mean, I know what I'm doing. I'm learning to be on screen. But where these are in here, you can't have more than what cover the top. Because if you have more than what cover the top, that's when they start to dissolve. And that's when you're going to get no dumplings in the end of it. So we just keep spooning them in there. They don't have to be perfect. Just about the same size. I'm going to run with it. I typically have a roaster that I do this with, and you can fit tons of dumplings in here. Since it's just Mike and I tonight, I don't think I need tons of dumplings. Well, I guess he'll tell me later. But we're just going to keep putting them in there, and you can see how they're starting to cover the top. And like I said, you don't want to overdo it. You want to make sure that each dumpling has surface area, or they're just not gonna, they won't poof, and they won't cook all the way. They will dissolve. And like I said, they don't have to be simple circles. I'm using 2 spoons. Guys, clip off a part of this and just throw them in there. Do about 2 or 3 more. I'm going to cover the lid here. And these take about 20 minutes. I know you think they look to be about done. They do take about 20 minutes. So I'm going to do 1 or 2 more here. And I'll show you just kind of a little quick, easy French bread recipe. Not from scratch, actually. We actually went to town today. I think it was, what, the first time in 3 weeks. As you can see, this is nice and full. We're going to keep it at that. We're going to cover this and wait about 20 minutes. So I usually use a roaster. You could have that recipe that I showed you. That'd be perfect for a pot like this. Don't worry, I'll get a little broth going after this and make more dumplings. This is not going to waste. Anyway, while those are simmering for about 20 minutes, we did go to town today for about the first time in 2 or 3 weeks. So I did buy a loaf of French bread, about $1. I just cut it in half. A little bit of avocado oil in here. If you watch any prior videos, you can see that I've talked about how the higher flash point on that is like 425. I got the oven hit for 400. It's nice and heated up. I'm going to put some minced garlic in there. That is my one treat to myself. As many times as I have diced and minced garlic, that is my treat to myself. I'm going to put a little garlic powder in there. And I don't measure stuff. I cook from here and from here, my nose. You can smell it, you know it's doing good. Got a little onion powder. Little Italian seasoning. And a little parsley. Let's give this a little mix. Just going to paint that on there. You want it nice and thick. You don't want it soupy, but you want it covered. You can cover all those little edges, all the little sides, and not just down the middle. Everything's going to brown up really good. And that's what you want here. A little dipping bread for the soup. Like I said, I set the oven for about 400. This only takes a few minutes, but we got time on the dumplings and might as well do something else. Why not? I'm always busy doing something. Ran a little low here. I need just a little bit more oil to finish that up. Slow plug. So I got my edges covered. I got my middles covered. Got a little bit of seasonings in there. But I always go back through. I'm going to give it a good little dusting of garlic powder just because I love my garlic. If you've seen any of my other videos, you're going to know I love my garlic. A little dusting of onion powder. Of course, this being French bread, garlic toast, little Italian seasoning. Gotta love the parsley. It's going to look something like that. We're going to slip this into an oven at 400 degrees for a few minutes. And I will show you the results here along with the dumplings. I just like this because you pay, I don't know, $3, $4, $5 for little 8 slices of garlic toast in the store. For $1 and the seasonings and everything you have in the house, you got a whole entire French bread loaf of garlic toast. So that is our little splurge to me when I haven't been in the kitchen that day to cook. So we're putting this in at 400 degrees. I'm probably check it in about 3-4 minutes, and I'll let you know. Thank you. So it's been a few minutes now, maybe about 8 minutes. We're going to take this garlic bread out of the oven. It's a golden color to that. That's perfect. And the way that these are looking, I'd hate to take the lid off. It's probably only been about 17 minutes. But I'm going to do it. I just turn the heat off. I'm going to take one of these out of here to check. Oh, and as you can see that they're done. They're completely cooked through. The outside's going to be moist, but when you get the inside to look like that, you know your dumplings are done. So, I don't know, it's been probably from start to finish about 45 minutes. We got homemade dumplings, chicken soup, and some, not completely homemade, but cheaper garlic toast that you can make for pennies. I'm going to go ahead and take these dumplings off this time. I'm not going to waste the rest of this, and I'm going to put those in there. Get another 20 minutes, and we'll just have more dumplings. I hope you follow along. I hope you like, share, and subscribe. I'd love to bring more of you to you about stuff like this. I know I'm kind of a dork. I'm getting a little bit used to being in front of the camera. You can always check us out on Lemire Legends. And I was always behind the camera on that. So hopefully see you soon. Thank you.